Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast series for beginner web developers and general web enthusiasts. Now, introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Caines, and Ed Mann.
Hello and welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe. And I guess this is a long overdue hello and welcome. It's probably been about, I would say, a month since our last official release.
Maybe more.
Maybe more. That's quite scarily embarrassing. We did have a lot of shows in the pipeline that are still they're in the works to be edited, uploaded, and magicified. That is a word. I see you looking at me like that's not a word. That is a word. But yeah, so what we thought we would do is, in the meantime, because it doesn't really... I started listening back to the first episode that I was going to re-release. Well, not re-release, but release. And it was talking about the PHP Conference and how it was going to happen in about 2 weeks' time. Obviously, that's probably 2 months ago. Anyway, but no, it's... my name's Ed. I don't know if you remember me. And with me today, we have the lovely... gorgeous, lovely looking hair. He looks like he's just got out of bed. Mickey's just looking. I hate to break the news, Mickey. It is Lewis Caines.
Oh, you were talking about me. I thought you were, anytime you say hair, I think about Mr. Bud.
Yeah.
If there's anything my hair is not at the moment, it's lovely. It's in some kind of pyramid shape.
How are things going, Lou?
Things are good. This is nice to be back, and thanks to the people that have contacted us saying, where have you guys gone, and stuff. We are here. We haven't disappeared forever. We've just collectively been in very, very busy times, and it takes four of us to make up the show, and trying to get all four of us together at the same time, and it isn't always possible. And
Rockstar
the weeks pass by.
Rockstar lifestyles,
To the loyal hardcore fans, both of them,
and my mum.
That's
one of them.
Oh yeah, my mum's the other one. So we are very much still here, and it's nice to be doing one of these again. Hopefully we can get back into it a bit.
Absolutely.
But there's no guarantees. We are still busy, so bear with us.
We try our best, but no, we really appreciate it, and I'm really sorry, guys. We were meant to do one last week. That didn't happen, but this week is a go-go, and we're having a more lean development process now, or production process. Like Toyota, we're going to be shipping it as we deliver it. I don't know what I'm talking about here, but really what it means is hopefully we're going to edit it now, and then in an hour's time we'll ship it, and maybe a couple of warts in there, maybe a couple of bugs, but hopefully our development testing processes will help us out.
We need you to do an introduction of our other colleague now.
Well, we do, and now the man, the myth, the legend, the man who introduced Counting Crows to me, which I did listen to again today. And where are the orangutans? Mr. Michael Budd, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm not too bad.
How is life treating you? You look exhausted, though that's always kind of what happens at the moment.
Yeah, constantly exhausted, and I told you guys I had a tooth out last week.
Ouch.
So wisdom one?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure.
Something? Where you're clutching your face there, I've got a wisdom tooth in exactly the same place, so I if it was bad, I don't want you to tell me about it, because I feel like my days are numbered.
In which case, I won't talk about it.
Oh, really?
What I will say is I had 3 injections to obviously kill any pain, and it turns out that when I concentrate, I bite my lip. That. Obviously, people can't see that. But yeah, I bite my lip when I concentrate, and...
usually you can feel it.
Usually I can feel it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I came home, and I was working from home by myself.
I can see it.
And I basically... Oh, it's a lot better now, but I basically bit my lip so hard and shredded it to pieces, and it was bleeding everywhere.
Oh, God.
And it was when Abby's like, your mouth's bleeding, basically, I realised.
That does look mean as well.
I couldn't feel it, so I just bitten through my lip, basically. So on top of the non-existing pain, Lewis, I had the pain from the mouth and from the lip. So yeah, that was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go on, hit me with it. What was it like? Come on.
No, I won't.
Get me out of my misery.
Having the tooth out is nothing. Obviously, you don't feel anything.
I've had one taken out before, and it was fine.
Yeah, so. Yeah. It was afterwards. Mine ached for about a week. So
yeah.
And throughout that week, what projects were you working on? Look at that segue. That's a perfect segue.
Nicely done. And Ed's like, stop talking about teeth. We've got a show to do.
Yes.
We've got an hour. We have an hour. This is lean. This is development.
Yeah, but don't forget, this is the first time the three of us have actually spoken to each other.
I know, it is kind of scary.
So there is a bit of catch-up in it as well.
There is. I will sum this up very quickly in like a minute, because I know that I can see you two have got a lot of meaty content in there. So basically, projects I'm working on. I've got 5 lectures left for the whole of my course, and I've got my final project to do, and I've got exams and assignment. But other than that, still working on the house, and in spare time, in my work, I'm working on like a e-commerce site. So
how's that going? Is that a Magento build, or is that
no? It's a bespoke, and the really cool thing is, in fact, there was basically we just won another big massive project because they were so impressed by this site, and we've now got another company interested, and we've never had that before actually, like lead generation that way. So really happy with that actually. Obviously, you always think you do different, but on the whole, pretty happy.
That's awesome, man. So what like. So with the course now, so you said you've got 5 lectures left. Are those to do with the graphic design? Are they graphic animation?
It's all computer graphics animation now. And the other thing I've got is like they call it like a mini conference where you have to do like a presentation for your final project. And as part of that, you have to listen to like 10 hours of other people's.
Really? You have to sit there?
Yeah.
That's pretty brutal.
Hopefully there'll be some good projects. So,
and what is your? Oh, hang on. So that's people who have already done it, or people who are going to be doing it.
Who are going to do it? Yeah.
So what have you decided on? Drum roll.
So I was one of the few people to actually suggest my project.
Oh, to suggest not to do it. I don't want to do it. Oh yeah, that's fine.
So I had to find someone to supervise it, and basically my project is going to be reverse engineering. Wait for it. Google search algorithm using machine learning.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's different. I like that.
So yeah, I've got a guy.
That's hard and like interesting though. So how are you going to tackle that? Have you got any ideas in the pipeline of what you're going to do?
I obviously started researching it, and I read this cool paper by this guy, and he like starts proposing this idea of a thing called Google. I don't think it'll catch on, but it's a really interesting read. Basically, it's like the first proposal for. I don't know if you guys have heard of basically Google's main or original search algorithm is based on something called PageRank.
Yeah.
Which is still used basically.
And is that the idea that instead of it being like who you decide, it's how many people are linking to that site and all that kind of building up more? So
I basically started creating my own spider, and I've just crawled, I don't know, about 50 sites in a minute, but I'm going to scale it up and do more and more. But it's just interesting to see how they do it, and obviously it's changed probably so much since the original paper. But that's how I'm going to start off from.
Is that Larry and Sergey? Like, that was their paper they did for Google at Stanford, and then they went on to. Yeah, that's crazy. How long is the paper? Is it like? Could you put
it's like 6-7 pages. I'll try and get a link.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I really would be interested.
It's a really interesting read, and but yeah, I'm just going to do what they do. I'm going to crawl, and I'm going to count backlinks and start from there. And I'm basically just going to take a sample of search terms, and then I'm going to try and get my genetic algorithm to adapt so I get the same ranking result as they do. Obviously, there's no way I'm going to get it exact.
No, but that's awesome.
It's about finding
it's
some
interesting. Yeah.
Some insight. So,
and did you find it easy to get someone on board to?
I'm so lucky. I posted it on a forum, and within hours, I had a lecturer who's like a specialist in machine learning, and he was like, I'd be well happy to supervise this for you. So
cool.
I've met with him. He's a really cool guy. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted.
You're going out for drinks and hopefully a meal.
Drinks and
take it to the next level, the machine learning level.
Exactly.
That's cool, man. That's awesome. Yeah. And how is the computer graphics going? Like, is the coursework all right? Interesting.
It's really, 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 really interesting. One of the lectures we had a guest lecturer who was I've already told you guys about this, but stop me if I have. But basically, he was a student at Kent. He's gone on to work for. I'm trying to think what the company's called now. They're like one of the big CGI, not Pixar.
DreamWorks.
Is it not MCM?
MGM.
No.
MGM Studios no.
I will get back to you on that one. But basically, they were on the news locally because he basically, I think their company won a Grammy or something. They do did a lot of like the CGI in the James Bond movies. And
wow.
yeah, big company, and basically they've got like bases all over the world, so like they never have any downtime. They're constantly 24/7.
What?
Yeah,
doing
because
animation and
a lot of their work is like basically rendering farms, so they are rendering all the time because of the amount of like
days.
hours and weeks it takes to render like a scene or whatever. It's just huge. So that's really cool, but it's not really it doesn't come natural to me. I'll be lucky to pass that module, to be honest with you.
Well, when you say that though, do you mean that because it's not a heavily programming based course, is it? It's more
Not
Photoshop style, like that kind of thing.
They've dropped the Java side of it, so you do look at
the fun bit.
Yeah, you do look at some of the algorithms, like for example, like ray tracing. So you work out like how light bounces off objects and all around, and that. So you do look at it, but it's not really. You don't have to know it. Most of it, like you say, is using that software called Blender, and that's really cool. But it's it's not really. It doesn't come natural to me. But yeah, it's really good fun. So.
No, that's cool, man. And so you say, like, in your free time, you other than the baby and the missus and the house, have you been able to get up with anything else?
I have a few things to kind of plug, but I don't. Do you guys want to?
Well, let's move on to the man, the myth, the legend, Lewis again. And what have you been up to, sir, since we last were on the episode? The air. Sorry,
I don't know.
He's just making funny faces, and that's really putting me off.
Don't know what you're talking about. Oh Christ! Yeah, when was the last time we actually spoke to each other?
On air, it probably was like
it's been a while,
early February, I think, which is kind of scary.
Yeah, I've had one main website on the go at work, which has been taking up most of my time, which we're hoping to get launched fairly soon. It's quite a big one. It's for a company that are based out in Africa.
Ooh.
It's like a harvest oil palm or something like that. I've got to be careful with the specifics of it at this stage, but it's a big site and probably one of the biggest builds I've done. So it's kind of been ongoing, and we've got a meeting with the client tomorrow to discuss that more. Shouldn't really have brought it up really because it's one of those things I can't really talk about it too much.
That's all right. But do you know? What other work have you been doing in your free time? I know you've been spending some time with Laravel 5.
Yeah, I have been. I'll come to that in a mo. Well, the work side of things, it's been generally pretty quiet. It's because my company is largely sort of property based with the design wise. It's very sort of up and down in terms of how busy we are. It's kind of all dependent on how all the markets are, and at the moment everything's gone a little bit quiet, which I don't know if it's down to the elections coming up or something like that. So our main focus at the moment is turning our hand to redoing our company website. So
that's cool. So what cool ideas have you been thinking up on that front then?
Well, the designers have been coming up with. They've basically been doing a lot of research on the more modern kind of web design kind of things that you see now. They kind of see a lot more things like parallax scrolling and cool animations and kind of scroll-based websites. So it's going to be going down that kind of road, I think. So because our current website it's a little bit dated now, and it doesn't actually reflect how we do our websites at all. So we want a new design that'll obviously match the kind of websites that we're building. So just to try and tap into some new clients as well, because obviously if you've got one main feed of client traffic and it is of kind of the volatile peak and trough nature that it is, you have to. I guess you have to make sure that there are other things available to you as well. So, we're kind of exploring those routes, and I hope to get on with the build fairly soon for that and mess around with some new bits. I've been a learning machine for the last.
Ooh, is that for the next section of the show, the next part? What you?
It could well be. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of Laravel stuff written down.
Interesting.
The actually one big announcement that I do have to make is that I said in the previous show that I've started looking at design stuff and all those kind of bits.
Yes, the Photoshop.
I have fully designed my own website and I have commenced the build of said.
Wow! Do we get to see a sneak peek, or are we going to wait until we see the fully fledged design?
I could arrange a little screenshot of the.
I'd be intrigued by this. God, this is good.
I'm very very fragile, so no cruel comments, please. But,
Why is it all pink? Why is it not white on white? Is going to be Mickey's. Lovely. One actually funny thing, right, is you say that your company website doesn't reflect the work that you actually deliver to your the clients and people. I think that's similar with a lot of clients. Like if you have a lot of client work, you haven't got time to actually update your own.
Well, of course,
your own. Pretty much what you do to advertise to other clients, like what you can actually do.
You have to focus on if you've got 2 jobs, one's going to bring in revenue, the other one isn't.
That's it, exactly.
Not directly, but hopefully indirectly. Obviously, well, then you have to go with that. But while we're in this quieter time, they've been focusing a lot on the new site, so that hopefully once they get back into doing what they do, I've got a fully designed website that I can then focus on and get built. So I'm pretty excited about it. I've seen some of the designs they've been doing, and it looks great. So I look forward to building it and seeing what comes. So,
Eric, and you're still enjoying your massive commute to Tunbridge?
Yeah, all 5 minutes of it.
Oh, it must be hell. That train must be.
I had a bad day
hell.
Thursday. The train was 2 minutes late.
Oh,
terrible!
Kick up a storm. I'm surprised you didn't, knock some people down a peg or two. That's what I'm talking about. Oh dear. Oh, Mickey, I'm sorry. You look like you're just dazed out, glazed over. Oh man,
I'm flagging.
Just swigging on that bottle of vodka.
Yeah, look at him. He's done. He's got lemon in his eye.
How about you, man? What have you been up to?
It's been a bit of a crazy month, actually. But trying to summarise it up, really. Like at work, I've been doing. We commenced work back on the mobile application, and getting my duck wet. My beak wet.
Oh my god! What did you mean?
My duck wet, my beak wet with Swift again, which is great. Yep. And yeah, that's really how it's kind of been. A lot of Swift work.
It's the modern sort of app language, isn't it?
It's Apple's kind of updated Objective-C with a lot of nice features. The guy who made LLVM, yeah, like really nice compiler. He helped build this language, Swift, and yeah, it's a really nice language, but it's got a couple of warts that are annoying. But every language has that.
Have you considered the pathway into building apps now? Learn Swift and then go.
Yeah, I think that's what. Yeah, it's kind of, and it's interesting because I've been playing around more now, delving into more Swift stuff. You go from just those nice examples of like, oh, look at this, it's just, a hello world example to real life. Okay, how do I really do this? And you realise actually sometimes you're like Objective-C does a better thing there. So it's interesting stuff like threading and parallelism and concurrency, handling that in an app world where people expect your tap device. They expect it to respond instantly. They're not expecting you to have waiting for things. They expect you to chuck it onto the background thread or background process. And things like Grand Central Dispatch, which I'll talk about a little later on, which is Apple's way of kind of abstracting over threading, which I quite like. I quite enjoy because I'm very familiar with the Java way. You've got your threads, you synchronize them, you've got your blocks and everything like that, and you've got a couple of abstractions over that. But the way that Grand Central Dispatch does it is a little different and quite interesting. So, but anyway, that is for the next bit of the show.
Are you utilising the parallel hardware of smartphones now then, or are you just literally just concurrently running tasks that you can break up?
Well, the thing is we're trying to keep it simple, because the app isn't that complicated. The real fun comes where what we're trying to do is use things like promises and things like that to allow us to really the abstraction of asynchronous stuff versus synchronous stuff. And it was interesting because there's actually an episode that me and you did, Mickey, isn't there, with Joe Watkins about parallelism and concurrency and stuff like that still needs to be edited and shipped. So I'm really sorry about this, guys, but we will release that.
The user benefit is parallelism and concurrency. Is that something you could concisely just describe in a couple of short sentences?
So the thing is there's actually
and for my benefit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there's a really interesting talk from Rob Pike, and he's the guy who made Go. And I've put it in the show notes. I will, and it's called concurrency is not parallelism. So people assume that parallelism and concurrency are the same thing. They're not. No. Concurrency is an idea that you are in essence breaking up things for the fact that you could possibly do them at the same time in parallel. But concurrency doesn't need that. You could still have concurrency is really the idea of maybe you're switching between contexts, because on a single threaded machine in a single process machine, you're only ever doing one thing at one time, and it's the different threads that actually are doing different things. So then the concurrency there is the fact that you can split these tasks up, do them quicker because maybe you're blocking on certain things, like reading a file, and you can carry on doing your processing, but it's not doing the process at the same time.
It's giving the illusion of, like, if you haven't got parallel hardware, then it's giving the illusion of doing multiple tasks at the same time.
Absolutely. But, so, but the beautiful thing about making something concurrent, though, is that in most cases, the idea is once you've made it concurrent, the idea that you've kind of taken advantage, well, you've taken into consideration that this, isn't going to have to happen sequentially, and that I've been able to, even though it's running on the same one processor, it's just breaking it up. You should be able to expand it over multiple processors and do them on different machines, maybe, or different, just in our normal machines, different cores, different processors. So yeah, they're subtly people, again, they mix them up the same, but they're not. Concurrency is the abstraction that you need and the breaking up to actually make parallelism effective. Because a lot of people think, oh, but I'll just chuck it in and make it parallel, and they're like, this is actually going slower. It's like, yeah, because your actual code isn't concurrent. Maybe you've got too much reliant on these shared resources, etc., etc. So again, this really interesting video. Highly recommend it. And I've got a couple of show notes, a couple of links, and I'll put in the show notes, which is stuff to do with Swift's, parallelism and Grand Central Dispatch.
This is part of a big debate that's going on at the moment. People are trying to get all this stuff into PHP, aren't they? Is it these two particular issues?
Well, not really. So it's interesting because PHP does now have it has threading, P threads.
Yeah.
PHP threads, which Joe made, and I don't think we don't need to worry. I mean, like, we can use that, and that's great, but we don't have very long running processes in PHP, and we're not that intensive. So I think the main things, obviously, surrounding PHP at the moment are the added now support for, and again, it was another thing with Phil Sturgeon that we still need to release, which we talked about, which is the parameter type hinting.
Were you sober for this one?
I was sober for this one, yes.
Okay.
Parameter type hinting is now added in, which is great. And then we've got parameter type hinting, we've got return type hinting now, and that'll happen in PHP 7. So then
really?
Absolutely, we've got that now, man. So we'll then be able to make our code more, expressive, more declarative, more expressive on it.
Because you were tweeting about generics the other day.
So then this week, IRC Maxwell, Anthony Ferrer, he made a really cool hack, and it is just a hack, and no one should use it.
The composer thing.
Yeah, no one should use it, but it's such a good kind of thought experiment. What he did was he hijacked Composer's autoload.
Right.
Autoloader. This is kind of how I how I think it works. So he's got a good in his README as well, and the source is really good to read. So he hijacks Composer's autoloader. He then does his own pre-processing, like transparling, so he converts it from this source that he has his own grammar for, which is the generics, into a source that PHP understands. He then, when he loads it up, he again hijacks Composer when it tries to autoload it, and allows you to kind of really use generics in with types and stuff, with object type, class types with PHP. And it's quite cool, but it's just a thought experiment, and please, people, don't use it.
Sorry, we did segue massively there, didn't we?
No, that's all right. That's fine, man.
Why are you so against people using it?
Because it's not an efficient way of doing it, but it is quite a cool way, But for not yet. Like, what if it goes into core? Then you should use their implementation, but not now, because I think he just did it for fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just writing that down again, being clean. We're just writing that down in the show notes, so I remember to put it in. Mickey.
Yeah.
What have you got to talk about this week, then?
Well, I've probably got two things I'll mention just briefly, because I think your things sound more interesting, to be honest. And I've got another thing that I can't really sum up that quickly. So, but I would like at 1 week to talk about the PHP Conference, UK one.
Yeah.
But I don't think for now. But The two things I was going to just really plug was, Ed, I think you've used it before, but Slack.
See, I haven't properly used it yet. I was still using HipChat at work.
Okay.
How is Slack? Can I just say firstly, also with Slack, didn't they have a massive security breach?
Really?
This week? Yeah, you need to change your password.
Really?
Yeah, their whole database was opened up or something scarily.
Wow,
Luckily, they're all hashed, but maybe change your password and also not use that password again.
I had no idea about this.
I think Mandrill had a similar thing happen.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry, what? Mandrill?
Yeah.
Isn't like a email SMTP?
Oh yeah, it handles emails basically.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. I think
sorry,
there was a notification.
Well,
anyway, sorry. Yeah, you go.
Just really killed my plug.
No, it is good. It is good. Yeah.
It's basically it's like I don't want to say an alternative to Skype. It is like a communication system, web-based system, although there's an app thing as well. But I just think it's more fit for purpose for like our kind of work, for like development work.
You're so used to using things like Skype, aren't you, at the moment?
But the main advantage of this is it is really, really good for developers, and there's lots of like integrations. So, for example, like I just played around and we use Bitbucket quite a bit at work. So I just created one of my hooks basically. So anytime anyone makes a change to the code base, pushes a change, it comes up into your chat channel. It says somebody has made this change, which that kind of thing I think is really cool. And also you could like we use this thing called we've just moved away from what's it called, our time management system. Basically we just moved over to something called Teamwork instead of Basecamp. Sorry, Basecamp was what I was thinking of. And again, you could do similar things with that. So I don't know, but you can make your own custom hooks or whatever you want to do. But yeah, I just think it's really, really, really good. So obviously it's free, so I definitely recommend check it out.
Awesome.
And the second thing I was going to plug was Selenium IDE, which isn't a new thing. Don't get me wrong. It's been around
IDE?
for Firefox. It's just like an add-on. I used it years ago actually, but it more for like funsies. But now it's been really useful to use it at work because I'm doing a lot of testing on sort of JavaScript functionality. And so basically, it's just got this kind of feature where you can hit the record button, and then it tracks everything you do in the browser. So
Really?
You click on add to basket, blah, blah, blah. And then I can just say, well, okay, when I've done all this process, I want to check the total for these two products is whatever, and it will pass or fail depending on the result.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for anyone who's written tests for Selenium, it's fairly painless. But this really, if you've got something I think is quite front-endy, then it's really nice just to hit record and let that just create that test for you. I think it's really awesome. I found it useful because I was just testing, like I said, doing this e-commerce site, and I just wanted to test that, when it gets to the end of my checkout process, that the totals are right and all that kind of stuff. And rather than having to do that every single time, just literally run my test. Yeah, and the usual thing, Firefox pops open and you start seeing all these pages load. And
so does it generate a codified version of your kind of?
Well, I'm sure it does, but you don't see it.
Not
that I'm aware of. I've only just started using it, to be honest with you. But all you see you'll see a list of like actions, and then what I've done is just manually at the end. I've just put like assert. This.
So it's an online thing then. It's not able to you can't commit it to your Git repo and ship, like you can't, or
not that I'm aware of, but I might be wrong on that. But I've certainly not used that functionality. I've literally just used the add-on in Firefox.
That's cool.
And just pops open in a new window. Yeah, so definitely check it out. It's especially if you're doing that kind of thing, you've got lots of testing where you just need to check that kind of stuff. Definitely check it out, and I'll put the link in the show notes. But
awesome.
That's all I had. So
that's good, man. Thank you. Yeah. And thank you for coming. Thank you. I really appreciate this.
Thank you.
I really do.
Feel free to go back to your duties or whatever you were doing previously.
And Lou, how you doing, man? What you been pimping? Don't know what I'm talking about this week. I'm really sorry, guys. What have you got to show us this week?
I don't know that it's necessarily pimping because it's basically saying that I'm now going to be doing pretty much all my code through Laravel now. I don't think Laravel needs to be pimped. I think everyone's pretty familiar with Laravel, aren't they? Pretty up to date. But I've spent this long period of time developing my own framework. I've talked about it quite a lot, and it's been fun. It's been a good project. I've learned a lot doing it, and it's still I've released websites in it as well. I know they've they've all performed fine. I haven't had any issues or anything like that with them. But I just come to the realisation now that, particularly through just watching a few like Laravel bits and bobs and looking through there's just so much required in a PHP framework that I just don't have the time to physically build that into as a commercial developer that has a job and has to, churn out websites, as part of my job and stuff like that. I don't have the time to get all the components built into this framework of mine, and it's not meant as a negative admission or anything like that. It's just reality, to be honest. I mean,
like last year when you started work on your own framework, it was interesting because it was this whole like kind of thing of not developed here, kind of syndrome where people are like, you should use everything that you've from the open source community, and you shouldn't make your own things.
Mm-hmm.
But you said no, I want to do that because I want to learn it. And the best way to learn it is write it, is to go through the pitfalls of it. And now you realise and understand, okay, these bits I understand, these bits I can do. But there's a lot of the functionality, and I mean.
It's undoubtedly improved my skills as a developer, and I still stand by all those comments. I think I hate the don't reinvent the wheel theory. I still completely stand by that. But there are other issues that have come to mind, sort of things like, if you're sharing code with a team or something like that, they all need to be familiar with a code base and things like that. And one of the things that I just haven't had time to do with my own framework is write any documentation or anything like that. And, that's as big a part of it as anything else. And
also it's the kind of work that you're doing as well. Is the agency work is, again, shipping these things out and giving them to other people to use. Like I know that one of the things that Uncle Bob, Robert Martin said that he's
been watching a lot of his videos recently. He's a really cool guy. He's really interesting.
He is an interesting.
I'd love to meet. If we could get him on this show, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Uncle Bob.
That would be pretty cool. Actually, I've got there's a podcast there, Functional Geekery, that I've been listening to, and I'll put it in the show notes. Which he's actually the first person on the actual. He's a guest on that show. Really interesting talk. Yeah, I
just really like the way listening to him talk about stuff.
He's really interesting.
Normally.
Because he then, saying like one of his talks was that I think it was at a Rails conf or something where he was like, I shouldn't go into your app and know that it's a Rails app. It should be, that you're solving that problem. You're not solving the problem of a framework kind of thing. You should solve it in a way. But that way I understand for big projects. Yeah. But then these projects, as you say, like with, shipping these projects out, you need people to be able to quickly get to grips with the code. And understanding and having, because Laravel's got some very good documentation, similar with Symfony. It's got some good articles and a lot of good users. The
other thing is Laracast as well, which I'm on all the time now. I've been basically working with Laravel for a little while now since I realised that I wanted to start using it. And every time I run into something, there's a 10, 15, 20-minute video just explaining it.
So good. I mean, Jeffrey Way has knocked it out of the park with that.
Done an amazing job.
Yeah, he really has. And another podcast, Full Stack Radio, which I listened to, he was on that as well. I listened to that one last week, and it was great. He's such a cool guy.
The podcast that he did with Kayla Daniels, the No Capes one, is really, really good to especially for newer developers to listen to. Like the way that he came into it, and it's not all technical code talk. It's just experiences along the way. It's a really, really
definitely
good.
Put that in the show notes. No capes.
Oh well, I'll dig that out.
Dig that out because we need that. That'd be good.
But another thing, when you think about the point of view of CVs and stuff like that, you need to have certain skills on CVs and say, yes, I know how to do this and whatever else. So that was another reason. And to be honest, I mean, I mentioned it to you the other day, and you might disagree with this. I see that probably Laravel is going to be the future of kind of PHP in terms of frameworks and stuff like that. And just from observing Twitter feeds and reading blog posts and stuff, it kind of seems like the framework that even if you don't use it, most PHP developers should kind of have an idea about it.
I agree to an extent. Like, it's definitely popular now, and I go by the fact now that I kind of feel that the framework is just an infrastructure need. Like, it's just something you need to use if it's kind of
absolutely.
You've got your domain, which is the problem you're trying to solve, and then you've got the infrastructure, which is okay. This is how I'm going to delivery. How I deliver this to the client.
It's because there's a forum on Laracast, and I posted an article on there, and I actually tweeted to Taylor Otwell himself and I obviously appreciate he's a busy man. He didn't get around to responding, but I would, if he hears this, I'd love to hear his response. But I've made this whole CM myself, and I want to. Oh, can you hear me?
I can't. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it just went a little bit, but that's cool.
And I want to port it into Laravel, and I don't want to have to rewrite all my classes and code and stuff like that in Laravel specific code, and I don't think I'm going to need to do that. So that's good.
Thought this is actually a brilliant idea of having your domain, keeping what you have, and then providing an abstraction that allows
architecture, like you say, having the basic,
and it allows you then to interface with whatever Laravel gives you,
absolutely,
and converting it into your domain. Yeah, no, that's great, man. That'd be a really interesting project to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm beginning now, and a lot of the guys said build it as a composer package. Yeah, but I don't know if that's maybe necessary. I think it's a good idea, but I don't know if anyone would use it.
No, you don't have to. So it can be, you can make a private composer package.
Can you? I've never made one.
Oh yeah, so we could do that on Thursday. So not this Thursday. So what we can do, is you can actually make it so it's kind of weird. So normally you go through packages and stuff like that. What you can do is you can instead in the composer file specify, actually I want to go this composer, this package comes from this random Git repository. And it can be like a Bitbucket one. And we use that at work where we have all of our packages and stuff are actually individual composer projects, because then you can self-contain them. You can say that, bootstrap them easily and stuff, test them easily and everything on their own. It works really well. So definitely have a go at doing that, putting them into their own composer files. You don't have to put it into packages. It doesn't have to be public. It can all be private and no one will ever see it.
I may well consider that then, because it is something that I need, and it needs to be completely separated from everything else, because it is the one thing that I want to... I like the logic of the CMS that I built. I'm really happy with the actual product itself, so I want to continue using it. So, I could try and port that across then. And
cool, man.
There we go. Yeah, that was the main thing that I had. The other thing I had, we touched on it earlier, and I didn't know a massive amount about this guy, but I saw a few tweets about this guy, Mike Dugan, who's been quite a big contributor to PHP, that sadly passed away. And I don't know much about what he did, unfortunately, but I just want to pass on my condolences and say, a terrible tragedy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's sad, yeah.
The other thing that I saw that happened this week is, I don't know exactly what happened. I think it's just one of those very, very unfortunate things. So, to anyone that knew him, thoughts with you.
Absolutely.
That's everything I have written down on my envelope.
On your envelope?
A4 size envelope.
Look at that. That is a technical thing right there.
There you go.
Actually, what about you? Your turn. One thing that going on from what we were talking about, actually, Lou, last weekend was testing. And I mentioned to you over text was testing katas or coder katas.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been doing quite a few of them. And there's a couple, I'll put in the show notes, a couple of the ones which are specific for test-driven development.
Okay.
I'm currently reading, finally, Kent Beck's book, the original test-driven design, development book, and it's really interesting.
Is that an entry-level book, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is he made it in 2002. It was released in 2002, and it's great. The first half of it is a Java example, and then the second half's a Python example, and I think this is like version 2 of it or something released.
It's a discussion we had, isn't it? That the entry level kind of resources out there for people that want to get into it are quite minimal.
Well, they do it all wrong. A lot of them, like they go against what he was saying, and I'm now listening to the "Is TDD Dead" kind of videos again, and I think it's interesting. I'm really interested. I want to hear it firsthand, because there was an interesting talk that I listened to a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago, and then re-listened to it a couple of weeks ago, or we watched it a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting that he was saying that, look, people were actually, TDD isn't bad, it's how you're thinking it's meant to be done. Like, every unit, every class, every method needs to be tested in isolation, and everyone thought that unit means like a class, but actually it means a unit, and what a unit means is it means isolated from other tests. So when you're testing that, it's isolated from another test. It's a unit test, that test. So it's not a unit as in that whole class needs to be stubbed out and mocked and all this. So really interesting. And going through actually this book, instead of reading books that have kind of, every bit of information he's said has been interpreted other ways. So really enjoying that book. Other things are the GitHub DDoS attack that happened on Friday. That was interesting. Tried to in the morning. Yeah, in the morning. I tried to go through and check out, because I was working from home, so I was checking out our trying to update. I was actually pushing a pull. No, not pushing a pull. Pushing a pull request, and I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. It's not actually working." And then I was looking over Twitter's. Twitter's like the best for news and stuff, and realised, that GitHub was dealing with the largest DDoS attack it ever had. And it turned out that it's probably the Chinese government or something similar. Really interesting attack. What they were doing was, so there's a big kind of community similar to Facebook, Dabble or something. I don't know what it's called officially, but a Chinese version. And what they were doing is, so any person that was accessing it outside of China, so they were outside of China, but they were accessing this website, needed to go into China, I think, to get, to resources like the JavaScript and stuff like that. And I think at the firewall, they were rewriting the files, the CDN files, which were like, and then they were actually just accessing, like they were saying, just to spam, pretty much to spam in this JavaScript, DDoS, pretty much a couple of GitHub repos, which were Chinese conversions of New York Times articles and some other thing. I don't know what they were, but it was a very interesting attack, and it really did piss off GitHub, because they normally would say, okay, let's block all IPs from China, but they couldn't, because it was only people who were using the site outside of China that were doing the DDoS, which was very clever.
Ooh,
it was really scary.
It's all been resolved and taken care of now then?
I think that, they've kind of calmed it down and stuff. I have no idea how they calm it down. I'm really interested to see what they do to kind of, block this traffic and stuff. But it was really interesting because I think this guy released a Twitter, on Twitter it was a YouTube video of what actually would happen, and you would go to the site, like this, this site, and then you look in your Chrome, you go into your developer tools, and you notice that you're just constantly requesting these two GitHub repositories, and that was crazy. Yeah, insane. So and another thing's great is that the boxes that they were on didn't even have to be compromised. It wasn't like they were just been hacked. The boxes had been hacked, and then you were pinging. It was like these people were just going on the website, and then they were becoming part of this DDoS attack. They were becoming zombies for it.
Generated this massive zombie network
without even having to infect any machine. You could be on your phone doing it. You could be on your iPad.
And there's no way of incriminating them, because the people who are doing it are innocent.
Exactly. Yeah, they're innocent human beings. They had nothing, and they weren't even compromised. Their machines weren't compromised. It was the JavaScript files that were actually,
Slightly controversial, but you have to say that's pretty clever.
It's awesome. I mean, it's amazingly clever, and that's the thing. Like, I was when they said, because everyone was saying like there's a Hacker News comments article, and everyone was saying, well, can't they just block the IPs from China? Then it's like, no, it's only IPs outside of China, and there could be any IP ranges, and it's just clever. But unfortunately, he did sort it out and everything, and it's okay now. But it was a bit scary, and it was kind of another thing that scared you was kind of like, wow, we rely on GitHub to store our source code for our business. Maybe we shouldn't be relying on them totally. Like, if they go down, how much money has people, all these startups and everything put their source code in GitHub? So it's quite interesting. Another thing is JavaScript. ECMAScript 6 stuff. I have been playing with ECMAScript 6 for a couple of weeks now, really enjoying it. Babel.js, previously known as 6to5, is a great transpiler that converts ES6 code, so stuff like you get the nice arrow syntax and stuff like the veridatic functions where you're able to pass in .splat and all these things, cool stuff that you have in like Ruby and stuff, you're able to do now in JavaScript. And you can use this, and it just actually converts it into ECMAScript 6, which works on normal, browsers. And I've been using JSBin, which is another actually interesting thing where JSBin was getting spammed. So JSBin is made by a guy in Brighton, Remy Sharp, I think his name is. And I love JSBin. JSBin's got I used to use JSFiddle all the time, but JSBin to me is the best. Just so good. You're able to use stuff like CoffeeScript out the box. You're able to use TypeScript, all these different preprocessors. Really great development environment, object And I've been using that quite a lot for just playing around with JavaScript, which is good. And
so the arrow syntax is just for for objects and stuff.
What I'll do is I'll send you this. So this is, actually, no, you can see it. So it's the JSBin. So it's the JS bin. If you just click on that, you could actually just run it as well. And what this is doing a couple of things. So it's playing around with curry and composition, like compose and curry. But it's also doing fun things like the maybe monad. But you can look at the source code and look at how it actually is working. You can see like how I'm using things like the splat operator and things like the arrow syntax. And yeah, it's really interesting. And let, which is now the new var pretty much.
So the splat is just the ... right?
Yeah, so the splat, you have the splat, I can't remember what the other name is, but the varidatic thing is saying so you have like the curry.
You can have multiple arguments.
Yeah, and you just say, it all goes into this array. And then the splat is saying, actually, what I want you to do is the function, and if you do ... args, you have an array. You know, we have to do normally call user func an array, and then we pass in the array that we want of the arg parameters. This is just saying, no, make these into comma separated. You know, this array is actually all the parameters that we want for the function. Yeah. And it just makes for more readable code, really. I find that this code is far more readable, understandable, and I'm hoping, again, saying this, hope to do a blog post on it, but I'll probably just release this as well. Really cool, interesting thing. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it's not a supported feature in JavaScript, but it is actually accessible, I think, in Firefox and definitely in Chrome that I've been using. And you can actually have a function, and you can do toString on a function. And you can actually get the function back as the source code. So I saw a gist that was doing some really cool thing. And if you look at the way I've done street, so I don't know, let street, and it's called doem at the bottom. And I'm doing like address, and I'm doing the backwards arrow and stuff like that. That is actually just me making up my own actual my own code, my own actual, syntax that I then evaluate and then pass as a real JavaScript in the doem function. So it's really quite cool. Interesting things. I stole that idea of doing that from a gist, which I'll put into it because it was a really interesting way of doing it. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. What else have I been doing? Another thing, Greg Young is an amazing speaker. He's similar to... I tell you, actually, Lou, if you like Uncle Bob, definitely check out Greg Young. He does some really interesting talk. Yeah, he does some really interesting talks. Really worth it. And other than that, though, I think I'm done as well.
Wow!
Look at that.
Time to spare. I thought we were going to struggle for that.
I think we're doing pretty well there. So, actually, Mickey, how was PHP Conference?
Okay, so
I've got a bone to pick with you now.
It was really, really, really good. I guess.
How drunk did you get on that Thursday night is the question when I saw the picture of you and Fraser.
I think very. That's my guess.
Quite bad, actually. It did get quite messy. Yeah. It was really good and a lot of good content. There was a few... I'd say there was two controversial bits.
When you punched that... No, I'm sorry. Carry on.
Yeah. So there was one lady who did a talk, and she basically talks about how people ridicule WordPress and how it's wrong. And she was really, really nice.
So what was her backing up? WordPress sites in the last month, just to throw that in there.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically...
So what was her argument for how it's not wrong?
To be fair, I think she'd I think she'd almost witnessed bullying for being a WordPress developer, basically. So I can understand her point. No one should ever take it that far.
Is she a PHP developer? Does she actually mess around with the source code and all that stuff?
Yeah, she does. Yeah, definitely. But mainly, always in a WordPress environment, I guess. So it was a really good talk and it was interesting. But I guess I did kind of think, well, if it's ridiculed, then you kind of have to make it better and stop the ridicule.
Yeah.
I think gentle ridiculing is good, because that's what drives us forward.
That's it. Yeah, people. Yeah, allows you then for progression. People think, okay, this is bad. We now need to change this.
Yeah. So I don't get me wrong. Like I say, I never would advocate bullying or anything extreme. So, but it was just an interesting one. And the other one was. Can
I just? What were her main arguments for?
Yeah.
For
what
WordPress?
was why? Yeah. What would she? Because the thing that we find with WordPress at the moment is it hasn't changed, and I understand why, because the source code. It works. The source code has been hit more times than probably any project we've ever done, and we very well ever do.
Okay.
Sorry.
So the main argument she made, and I actually think it's a really good argument, she basically said, look, WordPress is a system that is designed for the user.
Okay.
And if you think of a lot of systems we build them because we think, oh, this code's great. The next developer who works on this is going to love my code.
Not the user is actually using it.
Yeah, WordPress is a user-centric system, and it is. And no, you cannot argue that because of the amount of people that are using it and love it.
Yep.
And okay, you might say, oh, it was just the first on the block. Possibly. But it wouldn't have lasted so long.
Yeah, it's still winning out, isn't it?
So I think that was an excellent argument, actually, to be honest. She wasn't really defending the code base or anything like that. She was just...
would it be a reality that if the real hardcore PHP guys delved into the code base, they'd find a million things that didn't adhere to X, Y, Z, and this principle, that principle, and all that kind of...
Yeah, for sure. And I've not used it for years, but obviously it's big thing. Its big stigma is that it's not secure.
Yeah,
I think it's because it's been used so much, and if you get an update, so say you do find a bug in a piece of software, you hope that that you release a patch ASAP. Say within the hour of you finding that pit bug, you release a patch. Yeah, it's now not in your hands for the user to update their software, and that's probably what happens. Is people just don't bother updating their software. It's the same as like Windows installations. It's like, oh, Windows is too hacky, is too buggy and too too insecure. It's like, well, you're probably using an outdated version of Windows without the latest patches because software development isn't easy.
People don't even update their browser.
Well, this is it. I mean, that's why we have to have auto-update in browsers now because of this fact. So I can kind of understand where she's coming from there, where...
Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah.
So I'm moving to WordPress, guys. I'm moving on.
My only negative becomes because of negative experience that I've had with it. I'm not at all saying that it's a bad product. I'm just saying my personal experience with it haven't been great. That's all.
Yeah. No, I don't think anyone would argue with that either. That's the thing. The other, there was a keynote talk, the opening one on the Thursday morning by Code Rabbi. You would recognise like his sort of profile image on Twitter. Yeah, his Twitter handle, exactly. But basically, there was quite a few people who said he was a bit... And because he's like part rabbi, part developer, and that
has got to be a cool
he used some examples.
I missed the crucial word there. He was a bit what?
Preachy.
Preachy, okay. Your audio cut out literally as you got
really?
I didn't hear what you said.
Inconvenient. He basically used some examples from like the Torah, like the Jewish book and stuff, and used it like to say how he'd learned stuff from that, like that was relevant in his everyday coding, and it was really good. Like,
it was interesting. I mean, that's a nice little spin. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's a different angle to take it from. It's not the same. Oh, here is a pattern that we have to use. It will save you.
Yeah, exactly.
This is MVC2. This is going to be great.
Exactly. And I thought it was really interesting. I can't remember one of the things he said. I can't remember if I'm quoting this exactly, but he said something like, he said, practice doesn't make perfect. He said, perfect practice makes practice perfect. And it was something like that, and it just really stuck with me. And it basically was saying, look, anyone who wants to be good at their craft has to repeat stuff and do katas. And he was obviously advocating mentoring.
This is obviously a thing now, these kata thingies. There's obviously something that we should all be doing.
But there's a site, I think it's phpmentoring.org maybe. And basically he's saying, look, you should have a mentor. And also, if you can, you should be a mentor. And I really agree with that. And when I finish my masters, I'll definitely sign up for that, because I think it's really important. So it was a really good talk, actually. I thought it was really good. But my main criticism of the conference would be there was a lot of people there who just clearly love and worship PHP.
It's the be-all and end-all of...
And I don't think I'm that guy. To be honest with you, if I was to move now, I think I would like to get into node development.
Node?
I've started learning
stuff.
Yeah.
I've started learning.
Cool.
Node's
cool.
So
I would drop PHP tomorrow. I have no allegiance to it, if I'm being honest. I'm still grateful for everything that's in it and what people do.
It's just a tool. It's just a tool. Yeah. Absolutely. It's it serves its purpose well, but it's not the holy grail of anything. And no languages.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I think I'd actually like to go to a programming conference rather than a PHP conference. But saying that, I would definitely go again. So, Yeah.
Just to say something completely probably controversial.
Yeah, go for it.
But it's not about the tool you use, is it? I know there'll be a million people
No,
go, well,
no,
no,
it's
you
true.
shouldn't use it. But I mean, I had a little Twitter rant the other day. Didn't I? It's as long as it's fun to you and it makes the job fun and enables you to do whatever you need to do in the best way possible for you, then use it.
Absolutely.
And do it however you want, and don't worry about all the external.
Maybe we should
pressures of all that stuff.
maybe we should stop. We should lay off WordPress then, because if people want to use it, they can use it.
They can absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can use it. You know.
Yeah, I completely.
God,
agree.
I'm gonna get a bunch of haters coming to me now, aren't I?
I think me and you definitely will get a lot of email. Yeah. But I think that's, to be fair, I said I got a load to talk about PHP Conference.
No, that's really interesting. Like, I mean, did you get to talk to many people? Because that was, again, with like the Phil Sturgeon podcast, which we will release. I'm really sorry, we'll edit. We were talking about, like that kind of like the fear of going to a conference and talking to people. And did you step up to the plate, or were you still quite a bit like...
I was pretty bad, because I got to be honest, I was so busy. I didn't read like the amount of social stuff that was going on. So they'd hired out like a bowling alley. There was like beer provided, food provided. Everything like that was top notch. The organisers, absolutely superb. Like, one of the organisers, like I say, was one of the guy we met on the Kent meetup.
Did you talk to him?
I didn't. No, I didn't talk to him. I didn't really talk to anyone. I would say I went with a colleague, so we used the opportunity to meet up with Fraser and my mate Nick in London afterwards. And but the weird thing was, I have a friend who works for Skype.
Yep.
And I didn't know he was going. And then, bearing in mind, there's like 700 people in this hall. I ended up going sitting down, and I didn't even realise I sat down next to him. And he was like, "Mike." I was
Genius.
Like, wow.
Is he a PHP guy? I thought he was.
Yeah, he's big. Well, he does all sorts, but PHP's certainly a big part of what he does.
Cool.
So no, I didn't. But next year, if I go again, I'll definitely socialise. Yeah, but I was pretty bad, to be honest with you.
So no one said, "Oh, you're the guy off that podcast."
No one said that.
No one wants to. Oh, dear.
I
don't blame them.
You should have worn the T-shirt.
I know, they did talk about podcasts and how important it was to listen to them.
Yeah, dude, you should have worn the T-shirt. Actually,
I know
that is a massive.
But our two fans weren't at the conference, so there's no point.
That's true. Well, my mum could have been there, but she was busy.
I'd have seen her.
Same.
Yeah, but it didn't come up. I think that podcast came up.
Yeah, that's a good podcast. That is a good podcast.
Yeah. But no, there's quite a few people who've been on our show did come up.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's very cool. Yeah. Ben Ramsey came up and a few other people came up for the talk. So, pretty awesome. But yeah, I definitely recommend it to anyone. Definitely go. That includes you two next year.
Yes.
Yeah, I will try. It just didn't work out this year, unfortunately. I did want to go, but it just didn't happen.
I understand. Yeah.
All right, well, guys, I think we're coming up to the hour mark, and I think that'll be a pretty good place to stop it.
Sorry, one more thing.
Go for it.
We talked about Web in the Woods. Can we talk about that yet?
We can talk about Web in the Woods.
Is it happening?
It is happening.
I'm on holiday then, so it's not happening for me.
Lou's not available.
Yeah, but anyone who's interested, basically, there's like a little like social conference type thing. If you go to webinthewoods.co.uk, it'll describe it a lot better than I have. But it's basically consists of I think camping and like programming talks, design
talks. It sounds really cool. It does sound cool, and Chris, who's actually been on a show, he really kindly said that we could have the Friday slot to do a live podcast, and we are working out diaries and whatnot to see if we possibly can. Unfortunately, Lou won't be there. Yeah. Salaries. Oh yeah, the salaries. We're working out. Our agents are talking, but we're working out. Like, unfortunately, Lou can't make it, but we'll see if we can. Me, Mickey. Hopefully, we've got the house staff, etc., and try and get Fraser down from London. But we will be in conversation with each other and third parties to see. But it looks like a really good conference. Really interested.
I really like the website.
It's a really nice website. Yeah. Awesome. All right then, guys. Well, I think that's a perfect place to wrap up. I hope the audience, you've enjoyed it. Sorry again for the past month of not being here. We will be around every week for your audio listening needs, and it's been great. Good talking to you guys.
Cool.
Yeah, you too. All the best.
And bye.
Take it easy.
Bye.
You've been listening to 3 Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3 Devs and a Maybe.